basically just breaks it down where it was like the inner voice it's the people are like, oh, what is the inner voice? He asked Dr. Ethan Kross, like, if somebody had to describe or give a definition of the inner voice, what is it? And the inner voice is the constant stream of thoughts that we carry everywhere, right? Yep. It's our subconscious, which is our belief system stored in our minds. And you either get this from your parents, other adults that you grew up with, that had you had a strong bond with, even your environment. And once you form those habits or those people around you, it's almost like a hardware. You're wired with that type of personality and those type of behaviors for the rest of your life, unless you decide to do something about it. So we all have, listen, I mean, I've met one person that had something, kind of fucked up going on in their childhood, and they carry with that in their adulthood. But it's very rare to find somebody that understands that those subconscious beliefs that you have in you are holding you back. And that goes for a lot of reasons. Either they believe they can't change, or they're scared to change because you got to kind of look at yourself in the mirror. So there's a lot of reasons why, again, like why people just don't succeed because of faulty programming within their subconscious. So that's where I go with that.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought this one up, man, because and I'm not sure if it was the same thing, but when he was talking about the voices in the head, like what's the content, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, hey, is it like, oh, it's my dad's voice? No, it's not dad's voice. It's the content, is what the dad was saying that you'll be living, right? So this comes back to what you were saying about, hey, what are some of the things that will prevent someone from winning? It's that talk track, right? Because that's what I thought was very interesting, especially when you talk about that inner dialogue, the inner voice. It's really like a talk track.
Yes, it's on a loop, right?
Yeah, and it's going to be the same unless you mentioned, until you decide to change it. So that's the piece. And what I think is so cool and interesting is that this, when it comes to those stream of thoughts, it can be just because we've heard it so many times. It's who we are, right? Sure. It's like, oh, well, that's just inner voice. And I also thought it was interesting how, I think it was Andrew that was saying, like, he's tried to change the voice, right? He's tried to change like what the voice says. Like, he'd make it sound like David Goggins. Okay, that didn't work. Then he's like, okay, Jocko Willink. Well, he's a fan, But I think it's so. What were your thoughts, like, especially when it comes to like knowing that the inner voice is a stream of thoughts? What was your takeaway when they started really talking about like making the changes in that inner voice, in how we shift those thoughts? Like, what was some stuff that came to mind for you?
What I thought was interesting about it is, like, as humans, we just have limited attention. We only have a certain amount of attention that we can use. So when you have this negative feedback on a loop, it takes away from other resources. It's almost like acts as like a sponge. So like an analogy that I heard was basically like, imagine like if you're new to like plumbing and you don't know how to fix a leak in your faucet, and you're sitting there and you're trying to concentrate on fixing the leak, but in the background you just have you hear your phone going off. You're like, you're going to be like, that's the inner voice. That's the chatter. So when I see people trying to like, hey, I want to become an entrepreneur, or I want to do a side hustle or a side hustle or a side business, or I want to get better at work, or whatever it is, and they're trying to be creative, but they got that inner voice in the background. It's almost like a sponge, and it just sucks up all that creativity and productivity and all those creative resources from you. So I think that's super important to. It's almost like we talked about this in the past. Like, you're only as good as an entrepreneur as in your business as you are as a person. So I see a lot of people, they're kind of like, I hate to say, like, just fucked up on the inside, and they're just like, they got some issues to deal with. I mean, we all got issues that we need to deal with, but they try to avoid those issues and try to create positive things on the outside, whether it be side businesses, whether it be work, whether it be relationships. And the reality, it's never going to work until you fix yourself. And I think step one is fixing that loop.
Dude, you hit it, man. Thank you for saying that, brother. Thank you for saying that, because it's necessary to fix the loop. That's something that resonated with what he was saying, because I think for me, when things began to shift and I began to start coming out ahead, I'm like, oh man, like my mind, my inner voice was like, what are you doing, man? It's not going to work.
Yeah.
Versus, hey, what are you doing? There's another way that you can work this. Let's figure this out. Right? There's a slight distinction there.
Sure.
But it's playing into now starting to rework the structure of the words. And I like one of the things that I like that they were talking about was the journaling. And being able to like, okay, I'm gonna write this out because like, dude, I know you journal too. Like I know you read, I know you journal. I know like for me, journaling and writing things down and like writing out a thought, like that helps me to restructure, like, oh my God, I was thinking that? Hold up, damn.
Yeah, it's almost like the pen kind of just takes control, and you're just writing, like, oh shit, I didn't know about this, and you're like, the trick is to keep going, right? So he talks about, what does he talk about? The Pennebaker writing method, and this is actually really popular and very potent writing method. And they both were like, oh my God, they should just like teach courses of this in college, just like as far as like psychology goes, because they see like the breakthroughs and a lot of science is behind this. So basically the Pennebaker writing method is you journal for 4 days in a row, 4 days straight, anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. And you can just say week one, you do it Monday through Thursday. Just say you miss Monday the following week, you can do it Tuesday through Friday. So it just has to be 4 days in a row for, I think it was like 4 or 5 consecutive weeks. And it was whatever, pretend like no one can see it. Just focus all your energy on there and just get your thoughts out. No editing, no judgment, nothing. And then at the end, you kind of do like a spin on it and you balance it with using gratitude or positive memories to try to almost like flip the script. And what they do is, and the science behind this is really interesting. They were showing graphs and everything like that. They did numerous case studies on this. It severely reduced symptoms in anxiety and depression. It increases your immune system. It increases what they call CD4 T cells, which will like help in fight infections. And I forgot what else it fought, but it was more for like infections. And when you start doing that, less people got sick. And also enhances your prefrontal cortex. They saw like they did like MRI imaging on brains the month prior to doing this and a month after doing this writing method. The prefrontal cortex just kind of like lit up. And those who don't know what that is, that's like your memory spa, where you improve memory, planning, decision making, impulses, control, intuition, creativity, which a lot of people, when they have those negative thoughts, they lack those. And you can just kind of tell with like, you know, like as a trainer, you're basically a psychologist. Yeah, bro. So like, you know, and I see people get down on themselves. I know they're not being that creative. I notice that prefrontal cortex is just shunted, no blood flow going in there. No. So I think it's a very powerful technique to kind of use.
I can tell you like it because you get excited. You get like a tone in your voice. You're like, yo, man, so let's see.
Well, you know what I like about it? I like seeing science behind it.
Yeah, me too, dude. Me too.
I want to see the evidence behind it without it, without the government getting a hold of it. That kind of science. Right. Another topic.
Right. Well, that's another podcast. But listen, I want to pause for a second and give kudos to Dr. Ethan. It's Ethan Cross, right?
Yeah, Ethan Cross.
To you, bro, because like how you broke this down and the study and the research, it was freaking. I think it was top notch. And I appreciate how like those stats that you just brought in, I didn't write it down, but like how they contribute to the anxiety and the depression and all these different things. But then also how that breaks down the immune system. It comes back to what we were saying before. It's more than black or white as far as like, hey, this is what this health is. There's so many little things that contribute to our health and well-being, specifically the thoughts.
Yeah.
Listen, man. And you mentioned about the training. Is like I noticed, for example, like with training, even for example with like when I coach guys, right, or mentor guys, a lot of it is first finding what their stories are or their thoughts are. So like a lot of guys that I work with when I take them to Step Into the Arena mentorship, one of the first things that we're doing is, what's your story? So they'll start to talk like, hey, well, this happened. They'll say in the I, right? And then I'll have them change the I's to a third person and be like, all right, put your name in where you have the I's. Okay. Now read the story. And they're like, holy cow. Exactly. This is the stuff that's going through your head, bro. And B, every time when they see it, it's like, first of all, it's either they get angry as shit with me, right? They get angry as hell. They're like, yo, you know what? I don't like this exercise. Okay. And then they have to sit with it. And then they're like, yo, because I asked them, I said, we're not going to keep the story. What do you, now that you have your emotion with it, what do you want to shift? What do you want to shift, man? Because that's how we do one thing is how we do everything. If that's the inner conversation you have, it's like a projector. It's going to be project out in your life.